Welcome everyone to the CIP Self review for administrators. We have 42 people on the call right now. We're going to wait just a couple minutes and see if we have more join before we get started. If you have questions, you can throw them into the chat. So there is a Q&A and you can ask your questions there. We do have enough time on this webinar to answer everyone's questions. And again, we'll just give it 2 more minutes to get started. And we will get started in about 1 more minute. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. This is the Office of Career and Technical Education CIP Self review for administrators. Just to go over some housekeeping and agenda items, during this technical assistance, we will introduce you to the resources that are available on our website for the CIP Self review. We have Jim Whitaker with us, and he is going to provide a general overview of how to log in and discuss how MEIS accounts work a little bit. He will also discuss the flow of approval. He will go through the process of completing the CIP Self review step by step. So if you do have a second screen and you can go ahead and log into the CTE portal, that will allow for you to follow along as Jim provides that overview. We will then take any technical questions regarding the CIP Self review. And I already see quite a few coming into the chat. So in case you're wondering, is my question making it through? It is. You just might not see it on the other end because of the way the webinar setup is. Then Tom Knight and myself and Candace Benson, we are both education consultants in the Office of Career and Technical Education. We will review evidence and templates, and then we will take any questions on requirements within the CIP Self review. And then some housekeeping. This is being recorded. All of our recordings do have to be sent out afterwards for closed captioning. That's a process that can take a short amount of time or a little bit longer, depending on if there's a lot of videos that are being closed captioned at the time. So we will send the recording out when it is available. There are no sketches for today because this is technical assistance. Again, please place your questions into the chat. I see 3 in there right now. And then if you are having issues with your MEIS account in particular, we will not be troubleshooting other than the overview that Jim's going to give, but we do not have time in this session to troubleshoot individual MEIS account issues. And then, of course, as I said, please try to follow along on a second screen. And that way you can kind of walk through. So from there, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Whitaker. And Jim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Candace. Let me go ahead and grab the screen real quick, if I may.
Is it letting you?
Yeah, let me get to it. And yay, I think we're there. Okay.
Perfect.
So, okay, good. You see it? Great. So we're here at the CIP Self review, and I would advise to bookmark this, or you can bookmark the CT selection tool up here if you would choose to do that as well. Well, and we scroll through and we would log in for initial activation for your teachers. You would have, all of you have probably gone through this process where you've done the initial activation where the teachers have utilized their MEIS credentials to get access to their PSNs. And in regards to the MEIS accounts themselves, there's a number of people who have multiple MEIS accounts, and I've had a couple of technical assistants with building administrators where they were assigned to one MEIS account. They're trying to log into with using another, and then you figure out which is actually the one that's been assigned to the CIP Self review, and you work from there. Okay, so we'll log in here and utilize your MEIS credentials. Now this is obviously set up from my screen as an administrator. So you should also have user access administration up here as well. Now this is still loading because it's loading the whole state for me. So let me go ahead and find just.
And I just threw the link to the portal in the announcements. So I gave the link to the CIP Self review resources that are from the OCTE page. And then the second link is to the portal. So one misconception that we've had from the field is that you would log in to do a CIP Self review through MEIS or through GEMS. And actually what you have to use is the CIP Self review portal. So that link is right in the chat for you.
Okay. So I see somebody's trying to do a MEIS reset and calling my other phone. Let me put that to the side for a moment. Let's see. We go over here. I'm gonna pick on Lake Orion. I talked to them earlier today. So as you go through this, you can do a quick navigation through this methodology. And so, and as an administrator, you would go through, you would make certain you have all of your information here, and you navigate, and obviously there have gone through and cleared this page at least and done a good job. So they would go through, and now click on that, and you see over here on the right hand side are the documents that this teacher had uploaded, and you would work your way through each of the pages, each of the buttons to verify. Now once you're done with the page, you would scroll up, click on your administrator's verification, use the quick navigation, and just go to the next one, and repeat as you work your way through. And then working your way all the way through each of the pages for membership roster, Yeah, there you, and we have it all broken out for the evidence necessary and all your different pieces. So obviously the administrator has gone through and said, yep, this looks good. And so, and you work your way all the way back, all the way to here. Now, one thing that we're working on right now, we got pulled away to work on a different issue, but so we haven't quite finished this, but I wanted to go through what we're trying to do here is to duplicate some of the functionality that existed in Navigator, where we're going through and assigning to different people. So let's say the teacher is all done. They want to assign to the building administrator. Actually, it's currently assigned to the teacher, and they'd want to assign to the building administrator, and they could add comments here, and then they would save and close, and an email will be directed to the building administrator saying that the teacher is done, and they would then be able to log in and do their verification. Now, obviously it's coming soon, and this would be a batch process, which means that overnight, any teacher that has done this, the building administrator would get a listing of those teachers versus 12 emails. Obviously that's not a big deal in the smaller CPIDs, but in the larger ones, getting an extra 20 or 30 emails would be not desirable. So this is coming soon. We're getting back to this now that we have gotten the other issue addressed. Now, that kind of walks us through the process for reviewing each of these, and then when the administrator is all done, once it's all the way to the CIPID would go through and do the same process, and the CIPID would be the one to hit the submit button. Now, if we've added show other versions of this response so that we can
Jim,
make certain.
Did you click on the edit or the view button?
I clicked on the edit button, and that's where you'd want to use the edit button so you can check the boxes for administrator's verification. We're still doing a little bit of work on the view side, but so I'd keep the edit side so you can check the boxes and then click, because on the view side, you don't have any save or submit down here. You have just cancel and show.
And does the teacher have to submit before the CIPID or administrator can view or edit?
No. In fact, the teacher should just save and then use that status change on the last page. CIP status, there you go, on this one. And if they don't have a building admin, they can send it to the CIPID admin instead. Any other questions?
Well, you do have other questions, but I'm going to wait until the Q&A for some of them. I'm just trying to get the immediate ones as you're doing stuff.
Okay, cool. So this is the process. So once the CIPID admin is good, then they would click on submit. They should be the one to click on submit. Now, it doesn't matter if someone does the submit button early, because once the CIPID admin submits, their credentials will be captured with the date stamp for the submission. So even if a teacher accidentally submits early, it's not that big of a deal. Once it has the administrator checkboxes all set, they click submit, it'll capture the CIPID's credentials with the date and timestamp. And I think that's pretty much, and if you need to go back to your list, go back using the home screen. And there we go.
And then you do have a couple questions on that. What if the teacher does not hit save?
Well, if the teacher doesn't hit save, that's rather unfortunate because everything that they've done to that point since the last time they saved will not be retained.
Okay. And then how do CFIDs or locals, how do they know when the status has changed?
Well, that is why we were adding that last piece where the teacher would go in and on that status page and then send an email through the portal here to the CIP administrator or building administrator. And see, I'll go back to that page here real quick. So they would, and then overnight that building admin or the CIP admin will get an email saying that Lake Orion Finance PSN number X is ready for review. And oh, okay, there we go.
Okay, and then if the teacher doesn't do the status change, would that prevent an administrator from viewing?
No, an administrator can go through and view at any time. That's part of the flexibility of this system. A building admin can view it, CIP admin can view it. So if you are concerned that your teachers aren't being proactive and getting started on something, you can always go in and take a look and see where they're missing. And if the only downside with that is make certain you don't hit save, because in the off chance that your teacher is in at the same time, you could effectively create a conflict and could damage some of their work that the teacher is doing.
And then if a teacher hits submit, are they able to go back in and edit?
Yes.
Or once they, okay.
So that's, we actually have to turn that functionality off if you don't want that. So they can go through and edit after submission, just in case they miss something, so you don't have to return it back and play a game of ping pong. So this is the CIP status I was talking about, where you would have it as a teacher and send it to the building admin. The building admin would also add their comments. Now, if you had it assigned to the building admin and you need to send it back to the teacher, if I could type, that'd be good. Please. Add roster, ... Now, obviously I'm not going to save here, but this would be included in the email back to the teacher. And once we got this process completed. So next question you have for me.
We have one person who had teachers who had already finished the review, but they didn't have the last page at that time. Do they have to go back in now and do that step?
No, they don't. This is only about convenience for the process. I mean, this is still under construction, so we're not going to make this any of these things mandatory. This is just for ease of use and for improving communication between the teacher, building admin, and the CIP administration.
Okay, and then does the status change work now? Is that working?
It is from the teacher. We have, I still have to build the communications from the building admin and the CIP admin.
Okay. So then if a CIP is trying to push something back, that's not functioning just yet, correct?
That's correct. You'd want to send an email outside of the system. You would still change the status here so that the teacher know that it's now assigned to them and could do this. The CIP admin is sending it back to the teacher. So this is still savable, but the email communication that is triggered when you're going from one to the other currently is not functional for building admin or CIP.
Okay. And then we do have someone who said that their teachers are not able to go back in and edit if they hit submit.
Okay.
With those kind of specific questions, do you want me just to collect their emails?
Yeah, just collect those emails. What I would need is the PSN number, CIP, and then I would have to look into that. If I need to do a reset, then I can also reset it to an unsubmitted status. If you want to, that tends out to be a thing. You can go ahead and send the request to change the status to unsubmitted to the mde-gems@michigan.gov.
Okay, perfect. And I'll drop that email in there into the announcements for everyone, that those individualized issues. And that, Jim, you just brought up something really important to mention here on the webinar, is when you do have a troubleshooting issue, we need the PSN in order to go in and look at the program. So when you have a problem, when you send us an email, if you can give us the PSN right away, that helps, save some time on our end. And then Jim, go ahead and move forward.
Yes, another piece that we would want to have, if we're dealing with a permissions issue, we would definitely need to know the names of the teachers, the PSNs they need to be assigned to, and whether or not they have a MEIS ID. If we have the MEIS ID, that would be really good, because of the multiple MEIS issues that we're running into, the duplicate account numbers and so on. Okay, so I believe we kind of walked through the process that we've gone through for the CIP Self review and how this new status page works. And obviously this is not required, it's just hope to be something useful for the future. So if you got any more questions for me?
Are you just ready to stop completely for questions, Jim?
Yeah, I'll just stop for questions.
Okay, I've got a lot. So let me get that email thrown into the chat here. Okay, I'm going to start from the top here.
Okay.
What does the submission process look like for the teacher, the building admin, and the CIP director? I think that you kind of hit that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you reset a review that was started accidentally but does not need to be completed this year as the program was not active?
Okay, so it would stay in the system and will show us started as soon as it's clicked on. If you want that started date to not be there, then that would be a request to the box, because we would have to do a reset from our ends.
Okay. And sorry, I'm typing them and publishing them as you're saying that. We have several questions about disappearing documents after uploading. And I know that we had a conversation about that with the multiple teachers. So if you could address that, I think that would be helpful.
Sure. There were two interrelated pieces that we ran into, which kind of caused more of a delay because we thought we had one thing fixed, and there was a secondary issue we did not recognize. So we went through and we have changed some of the process. For one thing, we've added the view and edit to make it harder for people to override each other. That was one of the things that was going on. And so where it's possible for two people to be in at the same time, at the exact same time. So the person A does work, and in the middle of person A work, person B opens it up, does work, person A is done, saves, then person B saves. The work that was done after person B opened would then not be there because whoever saved last would effectively overwrite. So that's one of the pieces. Another piece was for when we were back in February, we had a Department of Technology Management and Budget had a server issue, and then we've been kind of cleaning up some of the older items, and it had created duplicates. And what was happening was the older version was the one being loaded when you had already saved documents. Those were newer, and so we believe we have that addressed now. If not, then obviously we need another. I can schedule a Teams meeting and do screen captures and document what's going on so we can hand that off to our development team.
Okay, perfect. And then we have a couple questions about what is the significance of the view button. So you had an edit and you had a view, but the view doesn't let you see the evidence or download the evidence. So what is the purpose behind the view button?
Well, it will allow you to do that eventually. So we rushed this through because we wanted to make certain we didn't have people losing documents. And so you are correct that the view is at the moment not all that useful. So one of the things we're looking at is adding lead teacher stuff to the main page, which may make it a little easier to process through some of the feedback we're receiving. But it will be viewable using view. Now, you wouldn't necessarily want that because if you're going into doing your review, you need to check the box. So you need to be under edit to be able to check the administration box, the administrator review box. But the view button itself is kind of, if you wanted to look at progress, that was without running the risk of saving over your teacher's work.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. Okay, so we talked about that one. How does a CIP know, like, if a local has changed the status?
Well, we could run through that process on the status page. Then you would get the email.
Okay. Is there well, we talked about documents, all documents submitted instead of clicking each upload icon. That's something that's being worked on, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does the CIP hit submit for all of their programs?
Well, I believe you would want to do that for whichever ones that you have reviewed. And that would, once that's done, you should have a completed date, and you can use that to determine whether or not you've made your 20%. Now, it would really be helpful if you had your list of PSNs before you started this process, and of which ones you want to review, and set that to on a second screen or to the side and work through your process that way.
Okay. Can the review be submitted without the administrator checking the box?
At the moment, yes, we currently have very limited required fields right now. So I believe that the CT team will want to make that a requirement prior to submission at some point. And we just wanted to, before we added a bunch of restrictions, we wanted to make certain functionality was there. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think I may have, I think we will. Is there a way to make this so that it auto saves?
That is a great functionality that we would love to look at as for future development. Doing an autosave, I mean, when would you end up wanting that? Would it be every 15 minutes? You know, every 5? That certainly adds a lot of data because we're keeping each of the versions now. So that would be something for CTE and the development team to determine the value of that going forward.
Okay. Do admins have to save after each section is approved?
No. You could just go through each section, click your box, and save at the end and or submit.
Can a CIP admin undo the submit?
They would need to contact the box and we would reset it back to unsubmitted.
Does the building administrator submit to the CIP level and then the CIP reviews those and does the final submit button?
I'm sorry, one more time, you broke up for me.
Oh, sorry. Does the building administrator submit to the CIP level and then the CIP reviews those and does the final submit button?
Correct.
After the teacher submits a review, then the building admin checks the boxes in each section and submits. Is the CIP director notified that they need to submit to finalize the review? And once the CIP director submits, are the teacher and building admin notified that the review is done?
Okay, let me unpack that just a little bit. So when the teacher submits to the building admin admin wouldn't really hit the submit button. They would use the status change once that's built for them, and the email would notify. And we could create a document which on submit that would notify everybody that it has been submitted.
I'm still confused on the multiple teacher question. We are still having issues with overwriting, so is it best if only the primary on the contact page does the upload?
if I understand correctly, the primary instructor does almost the majority of this, and the secondary teachers would be uploading their PD and maybe CO1 and CO2. I would have the lead teacher do all of their work and then notify the secondary teachers to upload their PD. Because if you have the secondary teacher working at the same time as the primary, the secondary can overwrite some of the primary stuff.
Can OCTE provide written directions/guidance for this session to assist administrators, please? We actually do have that. It's posted under the CIP Self Review resources. So there is some guidance listed under there. Let me link you to it.
So let me stop sharing so we can go back to your slide, I guess.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Okay.
Well, and actually what I will do here is I'm going to pull my screen up and then I will maybe. Share the screen. Okay, so on your screen, you should be seeing where our resources are located. So if we went back to the Michigan Department of Ed general page here, and I can make this a little bit bigger, scroll down to Career Technical Education. Under Career and Technical Education, we have CTE Instructional Programs. Under CTE Instructional Programs, you would scroll down to where the CIP Self Review is listed. Click on that. We have a video posted here for teachers that was posted at the very beginning of the school year. So some of that video might look a little different if the teachers are just now getting in there. From there, this top link, links you directly to the portal. Then we have which endorsements are necessary to teach within different CTE areas. Then we have instructions for adding a user for the CIP Self Review. Then there is an administrator review guide. And then the CIP Self Review form, which is actually, Mr. Knight's going to go over that form with you all. But I'm going to click on the review guide. This was just uploaded actually into our website and gives some instructions along with some walkthroughs on how to go through and administer the CIP Self Review. So with that, and we will come back to questions. So, as you have questions, go ahead and let us know here. Tom, do you want to take over?
Sure. Can you share that CIP Self Review?
I sure can. This one?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and on this first page, this is kind of a carryover from the previous, under Perkins 4, and then modified for Perkins 5. This opening page, we have the responsibilities for the administrator, for the teacher, and I know that in the questions that had come through when Jim was sharing, that there was a request for when are these due, and in this under administrative responsibilities, first paragraph, you'll see in the bold there, June 30th is the due date of the current year. I mean, you can, if you're a couple days late, I mean, we're not going to be holding you specifically to that, but that's kind of a guidance for us in alignment with the end of the fiscal year. Also, in talking about the administrator responsibilities, the question had come up are we responsible to do 100% program reviews each year? And that is not the requirement. In the opening sentence there under administrator responsibilities, it identifies that we have, or that you're required to do 20% of those CTE program reviews each year. Now, if you're, spot on to the 20%, like if you're going to focus on one particular program area and it ends up being 25%, or if it ends up being 18%, you've got your, you have your reasons as to why there might be a variance. The overage on the 20% is not such a big deal, but the under is, you would want to have some kind of rationale why, maybe it's how you've packaged your programs to review. We do know that there are some CPIDs that are doing 100% review each year. It keeps them current with each of the programs. And the idea is that once every 5 years, you're touching each of the programs in reviews. And if you do let it go once every 5 years, we know in the world of some of these programs, there's a lot of transition occurring or a lot of updates. And once every 5 years may not be sufficient. So it's a guidance there for you to work from. So if you're looking for that magical number, it's that 20%, but it's, up to you how you handle that. Now, I do know that you're concerned when it comes to the selection of track programs, and the 20% that you select, let's say that you've selected your 20%, you've done your 20% for this year, and then suddenly you get the notice that, oh, we're tracking, and then we've identified the programs or the PSNs that we're going to be looking at. Those PSNs that we're selecting as program consultants may not fall into your 20% review from this past year. So just a heads up that the programs that we select for track are from the entire 100%. So just so that there's no confusion with that. And we've got a note to that effect there, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that is a question that does come up.
Also, one thing, Tom, that I just want to jump in, nothing on this page here with the 20% of review. This is all like nothing changed here. This is not new. So I just wanted to say that so that everyone on the call understands that we simply took the previous year's document and rolled it over.
Yep. Thanks, Candace. And so with what Candace said, it's just that is a reminder too for the people that are on this call. We have those who have been around for a while, and we have those who are new. And so it may feel like some of this information to some of you is redundant, and for others it's going to be new. So we can go ahead and move on here.
Okay.
And I don't want to spend too much time on this document because the document as a whole, the concept of it hasn't changed. The guidance to you as you work forward is, if you look at, like in this particular case, we're looking at program teacher certification, and you have a criteria column there. And then you have the colored, peach colored or whatever, evidence column. And you'll see that they're associated, the evidence is associated to the criteria. So that's the evidence is your guidance as to what if you're looking for any kind of guidance as to what you're looking for under the criteria column as an administrator. Now, one of the things that has changed, and this actually changed under Perkins 4, is that we are not requesting you to upload any certifications that are listed in MOACs. So that would be like your regularly certified CTE teachers. Because everything's captured digitally in MOACs, we can go out there and we can validate that they are the certified teacher with the proper endorsements for those CTE program areas. And the same thing stands for ACAs. We have the ability to go out to MOACs and to look at the ACAs just to, so again, that none of that evidence needs to be uploaded for that, for those two particular areas. And just before I move on here, I just want to give a quick call out or a reminder. The ACA, that window to apply actually opens on July 1st. In working with the Teacher Cert Office, we thought that that would be best to have that open in alignment when certifications expire in the normal world of certifications. And it just gives you one more month of an option of being able to get your teachers that are on the ACA. It gives you, the district, an extra month rather than August 1st to get those into the system. And then it lasts for the entire year, right on up through the following summer. Post-secondary instructors, I know that we've got a few questions that have come in right now because there's some reporting going on with that. Just a reminder that when a post-secondary teacher or college faculty is coming into the building, into the high school building, you do have the requirement as a local to request an ACA. If the teaching is taking place on the college campus, there is no ACA application that's required. And then we've got a little note there that you'd want to identify the college. For you, you would want to have evidence that this teacher is employed by the college. If they're coming to your, to your building, when you apply for the ACA, that you do have the evidence. It could be as simple as an email from the proper authority at the college that they are employed by the community college or the university if it's a university instructor. And then you could just hold that on file on the personnel files for that particular individual within the district. And then for the other parts that are there, for the licenses, like your COS license, that would be uploaded. If you've got welding certifications, if you've got automotive certifications, things like that. IT could happen in IT as well, where you have somebody on an ACA and you would want to upload their certifications in here that the program consultant can look at. And that's okay. And that's quite a bit about teacher certification. If you have questions, just an FYI to you, Candace and myself meet bi-weekly with Linda Campbell out of the Office of Educator Excellence, the Teacher Certification Office, and we discuss any questions that come in from you guys about teacher certifications, and if we have any things that we need to check in with one another. Also, in the course of 2 weeks, we know that sometimes there are some quicker responses that are required, and we do check in with one another to make sure that we're responding to you properly. But there are just a lot of questions that come in, and sometimes it feels like there should be a standard response. But when it comes especially to the ACAs, each one is looked at individually. You have your individual questions with those, and they take a little more attention, if you will, in working with the annual career authorization. So, okay, we can go on here, Candace. And I'm not going to spend as much time in these next parts. The teacher PD side of things, every teacher is responsible for their PD. On the criteria side, you'll notice all the bullets that are there. Again, those are pretty much a carry forward from previously. What you can consider for PD, and then over on the right side, we've got the identity of the evidences that we're looking for, and we are looking for. And there is a change here, because previously we didn't specify the period of evidences, and we do want PD that's program related every year. But if you kick over to the left side, to the criteria side, we know that as you work with, and let's just take the world of the ACA teacher, that you've hired in an ACA teacher with all kinds of variances of their different abilities, with their, they're all individuals. They have their different characteristics of how they work with students. And you may have all kinds of variations here of what kind of PD would best fit each of those persons. And it's not going to be the same across the board. So really what we would like you to do is, in considering this, is to look at it from an individual standpoint. And that even carries over into your regularly certified instructors as well, that there are that they are individuals and they have their individual needs, if you will. And those, it's part of conversation. And when we talk to teachers, we encourage them to have these conversations with their administrators and to build it into their evaluations, and to have it recognized in the course of their evaluations of the PD, their plan for the year, and then the outcomes, at the end of the year, which can actually be uploaded as evidences within this. Let's go ahead and go on to the next. Next one is the advisory committee. And in here, just, the standard pieces. We do have a couple items that were, that have become under the criteria side of the voting members, post-secondary representation, and then a special POPs representative, that those need to be on there. And that's those are new to the other previous years. Down below, you can see the non-voting members that we've identified as suggestions that you can include in the conversation. And just going to throw this out there, I know that there have been some questions raised about the post-secondary representation, that you're having a hard time getting the post-representative, getting that post-secondary representation on there. And if you can't get somebody that will come in, what you can do is on the evidence side, and even though it doesn't identify it here, what you would want to do is upload, say, an email to show, or an email thread showing the exchange that you've had with your post-secondary institute, and that you're not getting that a response for them, or that they're not willing to participate as part of your advisory committee from that post-secondary representative side. And then down below, we have the 2 meetings that are required, and we're encouraging that any recommendations that come out of those meetings, that those recommendations for whatever that apply to the program are captured in the meeting minutes, so that it's evidenced out as to, here's how the business and industry have weighed in on this. And I'm just going to pause here for a moment on this part, because this is one of the pieces as we're carrying forward. We, the consultants, are getting a lot of questions about certifications. What's recognized? What will we recognize? And I know that we're building the list through the Career Pathway Grant process, but I also know that we have the supplementals that are out there, though, for those programs that have gone through the Career Pathway Grant process. We also know there's a number of programs that haven't even been touched through Career Pathway Grant. And so what we're encouraging is our teachers to build it in as a topic agenda on their in their advisory committee meetings in regards to certifications, and to have the advisory committee, the business and industry people, weigh in on what certifications that they would recommend. And then that can be used as, if it's not on the approved list, if you will, let's say in the world of IT for networking, then you've got the evidence that your meeting in your meeting minutes, that your advisory committee has recommended that you use these certifications, and that you then can report those as supplementals to that program, with the hopes of them being added to that approved list, if you will, at some point. And then for those programs that haven't gone through the Career Pathway Grant process, it actually gives a starting point, because we've captured those supplemental certifications it gives a starting point for the career pathway group of the certifications that have already been reported across the state. So that's why it's critical in that you're capturing that information in the meeting minutes. And that's all I'm going to say on the advisory committees. We can go on here, Candace. And Candace, feel free to jump in if there's anything that I haven't touched on. And moving on to the program delivery, we have the gap analysis that's, that is being requested here. We have the syllabi that are being requested for all the courses that are delivered in the program. There should be a syllabus that identifies that course, and it could be identified. It could be one syllabus for a year-long course, or it could be a syllabus for each semester or trimester of the course. But have it identified on the syllabus as to what it is. Those are some things that we see when we're looking at this from a track standpoint. The instructional design form should identify the courses that are delivered in the program, and the course names that are identified on the instructional design should be the same as the course names that are used in the course selection guide that students see. They should be the same course names that are used on the syllabi, so that there's that continuity all the way through. And then as your data entry person for the CITES data entry, as they're looking at these instructional designs, they'll see the precise name of what that course is called, and then they can work with that when they do their data entry into CITES, so that we've got that continuity for reporting all the way through. And then, we can move on from here.
Okay, and we do have questions coming in, Tom, but I'm just going to wait till you have gone all the way through this and we've gotten all the questions in, and then we can go backwards.
Okay. And then work-based learning, I'm sure that we're going to have all kinds of questions about this year. And remember, this is the first year that we're capturing this, and this will be something that we're playing with. It's like a pilot reporting year, if you will. So if you're not spot on, we're going to be massaging this as we go forward, and so I'm just going to leave it at that with work-based learning. So we can go ahead and move on. Student leadership. If you'll notice this on work-based learning and student leadership, those have been pulled out as standalone items from where they resided in the CIP Self review from before, because of the importance that they're playing within Perkins 5. So under student leadership, we're looking at, this is a standalone part of the CIP Self review. And this is part of where we have conversations with the teachers that as program consultants that, the leadership opportunities do play out with the student organizations, the CTSOs, but there are other leadership opportunities that are beyond involvement with the CTSO. So it could be community projects that are going on. Well, I'm not going to get into that. You've got the list there on the right side of evidences. One of the things that I would encourage, if you have teachers that are struggling with their leadership questions, encourage them to talk to the program consultant. The same thing with the work-based learning, have them talk to the program consultant, because we're getting questions that are coming in from all over the state. We've got ideas that are coming in from all over the state, and we're trying to share some of that information out as we have those questions that do come in. We can move on here, Candace. Equity and access. And I'm gonna, just to add a little flavor to this, Candace, would you be willing to tackle this one? Because I think that you really do an excellent job of how this has progressed forward out of Perkins 4 into Perkins 5. Would you be willing to tackle this?
Sure, Tom, I will.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with Perkins 5, and you probably are aware of this because we've had quite a few events this year for Special Pops, but our Special Pops categories have expanded. And so it includes not just students with disabilities or students from non-trad fields, but also we see English language learners, homeless individuals, youth who are in or have aged out of the foster care system, and then youth with a parent who's a member of the armed forces on active duty. And so when we are looking at our equity and access, there's twofold, because under advisory board, we ask for a special person to be a part of the advisory board as well, and that is a federal requirement. But under our equity and access, we have our 3 areas. Now, we do have a form for room arrangement. It is really difficult for us to see from pictures what we're looking at in any given room when we are going through and reviewing CIP Self reviews. So if you are going to use classroom pictures, it's great if they have captions on them. Otherwise, we're looking at a table leg and wondering, what is this? If you have used your Career Tech budget to purchase things to improve accessibility for the program, and that's just for new purchases moving forward, that would be one type of evidence that could be included. Or we do have, instead of photos, that signed assurance statement. From there, the categories again are the same. We see a big change though on the bottom category, which is program recruitment strategies, reflecting the diversity of and languages spoken within the community. And I've actually, I was just in my own kids' building, and there was a sign on the wall, and it was written in, I believe, Arabic. It was written in Spanish, and it was written in English. And I thought, wow, that's a great example of, here's a poster for students, but it's written in multiple languages. And part of the reason why we ask for that is because our program recruitment strategies aren't just for our students. So while you may have a student where English is their second language and they appear to be doing really well with their English, their parents may speak only a language other than English. So we want to make sure that those recruitment strategies are not just for kids, but for families and communities as well. And so if you have a strong population of, say, students who speak Spanish, you would want to make sure that recruitment materials, posters, things like that are available in both languages. And we're trying to do more within some of our credentialing work to look at that as well. You good there, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
You
Thanks,
have anything
Candace.
to add on there? Okay.
Yeah, and it's, I'm just going to say thank you, and because of your familiarity with from the military services standpoint as being a mom there, that's where I think that you have that different understanding and application to this content area, and just seeing it through a different set of eyes. So thank you for sharing that, Candace. And then the last item here are the post-secondary connections here that we have through the various connections, if you will. Again, the criteria are all listed there. On the left-hand side and over to the right side are the evidences of what that can be used to be uploaded. And this is a big change here. You know that as we've transferred or shifted from transition from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5, that this has taken on, a larger role in our programs. And just as an kind of a historical piece, under Perkins 5, minimally what we accepted was the top box on the evidences there. If the program uploaded a post-secondary program of study, they were good to go. And end of review, and we'd have conversations, as program consultants about certifications and things like that, but they weren't required for any evidences. But now, as we work forward, we've got the different types of criteria that need to be met. One of the things I do want to point out, just skipping down to the like articulation agreements, we've had questions that have come in from across the state that our statewide articulation agreements still accepted by our office, and yes, they are. I had a couple questions that have come in about articulation agreements, and they went out to the website of trying to locate that. So our website, and when I say ours, at MDE, it has links to the college. And some of those on the college side, once you click out to the college, they've changed their links. So we're sending you to, like their common page, but they, what's uploading may be different from what it was before. And we have no control over how they do their pages. So just a kind of a heads up that you may have to do a little bit of exploring once you get out to the college's site as to where they're housing their statewide agreements. So just throwing that out there as kind of a word of caution if you're looking and you're scrambling and trying to figure it out. One thing I do want to encourage you as you work with your teachers is encourage your teachers to contact their program consultants, because we will work with them. I mean, that's 85% of our job is technical assistance, and working with them, we can help them answer questions. We can, we've got eyes that we, where we've seen across the state. We've got maybe some ideas of some best practices from other areas that will fit what they're trying to do, or we've got some, ideas that, could move them forward. And the same thing applies to you as administrators, that if you've got questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And just as an FYI to you, the program consultants meet every Monday morning, 9 o'clock. We have a 1.5 hour meeting where we talk about different things that we don't talk about you. We talk about things that come up, questions that we're seeing common across the state. So we try to be consistent with our responses. Now, sometimes you're going to feel like, we're being consistent in our inconsistencies. Well, sometimes, and I'll go back to what Candace was sharing with the accessibility piece, in using photos. If we just take the photos piece, photos in like a finance lab that I'm going to be looking at are going to will identify the pieces that I need to see much easier than they would, say, in a welding lab, say for cosmetology, automotive. And so that's where we're going to be inconsistent, because we are trying to make it so that we're looking for the evidences that are pertinent to the program, but we're also trying to make it as simple as possible for the teacher to have those evidences that are uploaded and that we can use for their program review. So that's kind of where we do have some inconsistencies across the programs as far as the reviews go. So with that, that's the end of what I've got to share. Candace, I know that you said you got questions. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, so let's go back. We do have, and then we will go to all these questions. On this site here, when you look at CO2 all the way down, this is where all of the templates that we have that are available for you to use. We have had a lot of questions about, well, can we use the template but customize it for our own needs? That's absolutely okay. We also have some people who choose not to use the template, and that's okay too. But the templates do have everything that's required loaded into them. So that would just be my only, if you're going to change a template or use your own, that's fine, but maybe compare it to the template on the site, just so that you can see and verify that it meets all the criteria. The other piece there is, this is that assurance document, CO7 assurance doc to only replace room photos. And that document essentially just is looking for the instructor's signature. I can make this bigger. Yep, we've got what we're supposed to do for accessibility, the instructor signs and the building administrator signs. So I wanted to share those forms with you all so you have them. And then we've got quite a few questions in here. So I'm going to pull the CIP Self review specific questions first, and then we'll kind of go back to general questions. So if I go here, we've got a question of does the 20% apply to the locals also, or do they need to verify 100%?
Yeah, and that's, yeah, that's your call of how you want to handle that. The bottom line for us is on that CIP Self review, the form that Jim showed you at the very beginning. I don't know, you probably didn't see the columns over there, but we can see when you, like when a CIP Self review is started by the teacher, and then when you as a CIPID hit submit, it identifies the date there. And so we can, see what kind of, how you're working through that percentage, but that's the part out of the whole batch of PSNs that you have that you're responsible for. The 20% is for that entire batch. But if a local district decides to, let's say they've got 5 programs in their building, they can, their administrator can, require that they do a review every year. So they're on top of it. And they could build it right into the teacher's evaluation too. I mean, there's different ways to play with that. But again, the 20% is for that's CIPID, that's for you in the reviews of those programs.
Okay, and then I'm trying to move to the correct page as we're answering the questions for that page. So there was a question about JROTC instructors. And so JROTC instructors are unique in that they are not certified teachers and they don't hold annual career authorizations, and they're not a post-secondary instructor. So what a JROT instructor has is they have a Department of Defense teaching certificate or teaching credential. And I would say that probably could just be put into the industry certification. And there's only a handful of those programs, and I'm pretty familiar with where they're all at. So I would just simply say on that one, upload the DoD cert, and maybe in a future edition, we can add a checkbox for if they are JROTC, in particular, if we increase those programs. Because that's a good question. There are actually a few anomalies based off of CIP. We are generating a memo for automotive. We are generating a memo for family consumer science. And then we are generating a memo for our early middle college programs to give a different checklist of what is required within the CIP Self review. And those should be coming out, honestly, if not this week, you'll have them by next week. But if you email Selena's for automotive, and you can email Tom or myself on the EMC questions, and then I'm family consumer science. So if you want to get that list prior to the memo coming out, just email one of us and we'll get you to where you need to be, because there is a little bit of, there's certain areas that those teachers don't necessarily have to complete in the CIP Self review. Under professional development, we have a few questions here. In CO2, does the teacher, let me move all of them. So I have to publish them on my end, and then I will move them over to you. So in section CO2, does the teacher need to have 5 years of CTE specific PD in the new template, or can they start using the new template and put PD for this year and keep adding to it until 5 years is met, or should they start a new template and build once again? Tom, and this is kind of what I've been telling people, I don't want to make teachers go back 5 years. It's a new Perkins, and I think it's perfectly fine if they have 1 year of their PD in there. It's better if they've got 5. I know I have some teachers that have 5 ready to go because they just keep a rolling log, but it's fine for them to start new. Would you agree, Tom?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And to kind of to cover your self on that, what you could do at the very top, just identify it as per Perkins 5 PD requirements, and then it ties us it ties that reporting piece right to Perkins 5, and then it handles what Candace just said. Working forward from this point is what we're looking at. We're not looking for you to dip back into the old stuff.
Okay, and then is there an hour amount attached to the annual industry-specific PD? No, there isn't, right, Tom?
Yeah, and this is where, that's a good question, because that comes in throughout the year, multiple times. But at the paragraph just above the table there, the idea under Perkins 5, the way they identify the PD is that it's sustained, intensive, collaborative, job embedded, data driven, classroom focused, which is, it's like, oh yeah, seriously, we're going to have all of that in one PD? No, that's not going to happen. It could be any components of that. It could be one, but really, you can see that we sustained is the important piece there. And so what is that? What is that sustained piece? Could it be 8 hours? Could it be 40 hours? That's going to be your call locally as to, there's not a magic number there, if you will. We will say that is a 1 hour once a year for 1 hour. Is that going to be good enough? Probably not. But we're trying to give you some flexibility in this. Again, this is where the program consultants have this, we have these conversations as we visit with our teachers or work with our teachers to have this built right into their evaluations, because they're already doing, they know that they're, trying to advance themselves and stay current in the profession in their content area. And so it just becomes, that conversation piece is built in with their CTE administrator, but we also know that in some of the districts that the administrator who's doing the evaluation isn't always CTE savvy, if you will. But if the teacher can use this extra promotional piece of the intensity of what their requirements are over and above the gen ed teacher for PD, to use it to their advantage. So again, this is, it's your call individually. And that's what we want you to consider. The teacher as an individual, and what are you trying to do with that program, in what, looking at it in a 3 or 5 year plan. How does this fit into that, looking down the road to build this program out? So I know that's not specific for ours, but that's kind of what we look at as program consultants in this.
Okay, and then for PD, teachers need 2 uploads. Why? And I'm assuming this is asking, why the copy of the DPDD. So yes, there's 2 uploads. One is the record of professional development that shows where that annual PD was required. And the other is the copy of the district provided professional development. For some districts, their DPDD or DPPD is uploaded into MOEX. Some districts do not upload into MOEX. Some districts use a completely different system to record professional development. So for some teachers, there might be one document that shows all of these things. And that's fine, but we are looking for a full picture of all of the professional development that our teachers receive, not just what is industry specific. So the DPDD, if a teacher is being tracked, that's when we look at the DPDD or DPPD. Too many letters.
Yep. So, and just to tag on to what Candace had said there, for instance, if you look at the second bullet down under the criteria, it shows the integration of coherent and rigorous content aligned with challenging academic standards and relevant CTE instruction. So if we've seen in their local, the district provided professional development, that they've done some things, say in math or in science or in English, that are, even though it's across the board with all of the instructors for the entire building, including the, which include, the gen ed instructors as well, it allows us as consultants to have, conversations with those teachers as to the connections that they're making from out of that district provided PD, and how are they weaving that into their program delivery. So anyway, just a little tag on there.
Okay, and so I think we have, do we need agendas for a PD or just a list? No, we just need a list. We do not need agendas. We do not need sign-in sheets, just a list. It's perfectly fine. Sometimes we get bogged down when we are reviewing CIP Self reviews because we have a lot of documentation that gets put in that we don't need to see. And so it's helpful for us if, you know, if it's just exactly, you know, nice and neat, it makes things a lot easier. So now I am going into, I think CO7 is where we have the next question. It's the same with advisory committee. We do not need sign-in sheets for advisory committee. If a local requires it, that's fine, but we don't require signatures on advisory committee either. So moving forward, teachers.
Hey, Candace, can you just pause for a moment on the advisory committee?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so on the advisory committee, you know, we do have the minimum of, you know, 2 meetings per year on that. One of the things that has come out is that there are some programs, they've got some changes, some pretty intense changes that are occurring. And what they've done is they've structured their advisory committee meetings where they're meeting, say, once a month or once every 2 months for an hour. And they to narrow down the time a little bit more, but to have it where they're touching base on a regular basis. In some instances, even though it's not a meeting, they're into these email threads, but then they'll come together virtually as a group. So, you know, sometimes what may need that you have an addendum to those 2 meetings requirement, if you will, of some other ongoing work or you know, if you've got some subgroups that are working on things out of that advisory committee, you know, tag that on as well. I mean, because it gives us a sense of, you know, hey, that this is a pretty active environment here with their advisory committee. And then also, you know, one of the other things that, you know, as you're looking at, we get a lot of requests, and I'm going to flip this back, don't scroll back there, but under the ACA, under teacher certifications, we get a lot of questions coming in as to whether this type of work is valid or that type of work is valid. That comes into the program consultant for those program areas. And what I encourage to do, like when it's an HR person calling in with those kind of questions, we say, you know, go back to the CTE program and ask those same questions of your business and industry people, because they're the ones that are current in the market in that particular program area, and they'll understand what could and couldn't be applied as, you know, valid work to the industry that could be considered in trying to calculate those hours for the ACA. So, Candace, back to you.
Sure. So we have a question, and that is there a minimum number of advisory members required for a meeting to count? So that's kind of it's a tough question. Realistically, what teachers should have is they should have an advisory roster with many members on it. Instead of thinking of what's the minimum that I have to check off the box on, they should be thinking of who are the people necessary to be on my advisory committee for my program to be successful. And so I personally like seeing kind of a robust advisory when I'm looking in there, because there has to be a special POPs rep. So that's one. You have to have a parent guardian, and you have to have a post-secondary. So right there, that's 3. You have to have a majority of business and industry. And so that means now that you need 4 more to have that majority of business and industry. So now we're up to 7 plus the teacher makes it 8. So 8 would be your magical minimum number. But if you only invite 8 people to a meeting, you're only going to have 4 people show up. So that's where, if we cast a little bit wider net, and instead of saying, okay, well, I have to have these 3, so then I have to have 4 business and industry. If instead we're simply inviting all of our business and industry partners that our students are potentially working with in work-based learning. So that's another kind of question we get a lot. I get it a lot in the education programs. well, I have a principal and a teacher from across the hall. Well, do you place students with those people? Because if you don't, we're kind of missing an opportunity there. So we really want those work-based learning partners in particular weighing in on the advisory meeting. So I wouldn't think so much in terms of minimal, but I guess if we had to give an answer there, the minimal would have to be that there'd have to be at least 8 people. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, and that's what when you counted off the 3 bottom bullets there in that top box, you identified those 3 requirements, and boom, to have it be majority, you've got to have those 4 business and industry people in there. And if that, I think that's the question is probably is how many of the business and industry people do we need? And that's a good question. And one of the things that when we're talking to teachers is we want them to be thinking of their advisory committee as being a dynamic group, that they don't become locked into the same members over and over again. Because as needs change within the program or the representation on the advisory committee, that there may be gaps on the representation within industry. And they want to look for somebody that can address whatever that gap of knowledge might be on the industry side. The other piece too is that there's been this history that in talking about virtual participation in meetings, and what I've told business and industry or teachers, that the business and industry people, they're busy. And a lot of them are traveling. Some of them are called out at the last minute, and they may have the program advisory committee on their calendar, but because of those extenuating circumstances, they can't participate in that face-to-face piece. And so what I tell the instructors is to go ahead and encourage them, if they're just sitting in a hotel at night someplace else, have them participate virtually. And that in your minutes, when you're doing your who attended, if you will, you've got your list of all of the participants for the meeting. And for those that are attend virtually, you could just note them as being participated virtual, and then they become part of that conversation. They're kept current with what's going on with the program. They're kept in the loop, but it gives that that flexibility, if you will, with that. Within the program advisory committee. And sometimes, like, let's say that we have a snow day. We're scheduled tonight for an advisory committee. You know what? We've got a nasty storm coming in. We had this thing planned out. It was on everybody's calendar. Don't cancel a meeting. Just shift it into a virtual. And in your meeting minutes, just make the note that, this was planned face-to-face to meet at wherever. And because of the snowstorm that hit us, we just kicked it over, and we decided to do this because of everybody's calendar and because of the weather forecast. That's why we've made this become a virtual meeting. And then it saves that whole trying to reorganize your to schedule for another meeting, because we are busy and our members are busy. So, Candace?
Okay, so we just got one more advice. Can the advisories be virtual next year? As Tom said, there are definitely times where you may have to switch and pivot to a virtual meeting. And in those circumstances, I think we're understanding of that. In terms of next year, I think it's too early to make the call to say that we would extend what we have allowed for this year to next year. And that's something that would have to come out from Dr. Piles. But I definitely think that there are times where you would utilize virtual delivery of a meeting, even maybe within a face-to-face meeting. Part of why we like to see the face-to-face meetings in a teacher's classroom or in their building is because we like to see the advisory members actually in the classroom looking at equipment, making recommendations for upgrades or what they're using out in industry. So at least one meeting a year, we like to see that way. I'm not the decision maker on can the advisory meetings be virtual next year. I think it's something that will have to go through Dr. Piles, but I can definitely see where For example, in our education and training programs, Saginaw Valley really works with our education programs a lot. I'd love to see all the education teachers extend an invite to Saginaw Valley, but Saginaw Valley's dean probably is not going to travel to a bunch of advisory meetings, but he might be willing to weigh in virtually. So that would be just kind of another way that you can use those virtual deliveries. So let us take that virtual meeting question back to Dr. Piles. Again, I think it's probably just too early to make that decision. And then does the parent have to have a student in the district? Yeah, the parent should have a student in the program. And we have parent guardian. So it is essentially the adult the student is close to, because we want to have that parent opinion from the actual program. So, okay, so then we move to, and let me just answer that. I'm trying to make sure I'm recording our answers as we're answering them.
And while you're doing that, Candace, I just want to add on another item for the importance of that face-to-face advisory committee meeting. When they see the lab setting, they come in with a fresh set of eyes and they see things that the teacher or the building administration does not see. And it could play out as in the world of safety. They come in and they're, say in an IT lab, there are cables strewn all over. And as a teacher, we've become accustomed to that. We've become accustomed to stepping over that. And you may have the advisory committee come in and say, hey, you know what, this is not a safe way of how you've got this, strung across the floor or hanging through the air, whatever. And then it just raises that awareness. And I know that that's kind of a simple thing within, say an IT lab or any of the business labs. But that same idea is across all of the programs. Just they see things because it's fresh. Like I said, the fresh eyes. So, Candace, did I buy you enough time there?
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And it, think too, it's the same concept with on-site track. When we are on site at track, we can actually see equipment, see what the students are doing, and we can see, everything that we have in CO7, I believe it is. A lot of this evidence we ask you to upload, but again, like I said, we can't get a clear picture of what it looks like until we're actually in the classroom or walking through a lab. And so that's kind of how we, one of the biggest reasons why we prefer an on-site track visit as well. Okay, so now we've got a question about gap analysis. For those of you that are following the published lead, it asks, the question is, the gap analysis is no longer required for career pathway grant programs, correct, starting in 21, 22. That is correct. As programs transition over to career pathway, they no longer have a gap analysis document. And so, no, they would not need to complete a gap analysis. That being said, I still firmly believe that the gap analysis is a really nice tool to look at program quality. And so that would be something to consider still, that teachers continue to look over their standards and their competencies with their advisory board and with their students too, to determine, are there areas where we might have some gaps in instruction, or are there areas that we do really well and we should be, highlighting. So that's the gap question. And then let's go, we've got a CO5 question that just came in, so that was timely. For work-based learning, for work-based learning, what is the minimum requirement for work-based learning? Obviously, we want it to be plentiful and continually expanding, but it's used to be minimum of 1 by end of program. What triggers an improvement plan when tracked? Tom, I'm handing that one to you.
Yeah. So, and as Candace is talking through all this and how she addressed the gap analysis, all of this stuff is evolving as we're shifting from Perkins 4 to Perkins 5. Even the gap analysis, as we, that was program standards. And so how are teachers going to be, where will they be held accountable, if you will, to make sure that they're delivering their program standards? Not that we're saying, you know what, you need to deliver at these very, this intensity at whatever levels. The gap analysis was used as a self-review. Really, that's what it was. A teacher looks at the program. And so that's, as we work forward, in addressing that. Now, and I know that I kind of jaywalked here a little bit, but trying to come back into the work-based learning piece. This is the first year that you're reporting this. This is going to be evolving as well. Previously, under Perkins 4, the idea was that each student had access to a work-based learning opportunity at some point before exiting the program. And so we know that, I know that in my program areas, a lot of the teachers were holding off on the work-based learning until the kids were well down the road into the program, because then those were the kids who were focused on that career area. And then the teacher knew that they would put the effort into those work-based learning opportunities. Sometimes and this is, as the program consultants visit the programs, traditionally this has been an upfront finding, if you will, before we even have conversations with the teachers, because there was nothing reported for work-based learning. And then once we got on site talking to the teachers, it's like, dang, teachers, you got all this stuff that's going on that's work-based learning. But it was just a matter of how do we report that. And that's kind of what we're, trying to work with you on. But as far as, if you look over on the right side here under the evidences, you'll see that you've got career awareness, exploration, preparation, and then training. And if, as you look at that list, you recognize that the intensity increases as you, move through that list. And we know that in the world of education, that in some of our programs, and because some of the students may not move beyond career awareness. And again, it's the idea of the teacher looking at the students individually. When you get out to the career, we all want to aspire to get all of our students out to, into those training modes, into the internships, or in the world of co-op, if you will, under CTE, using CTE with that connection. That's what we would like. But we know realistically that's not going to happen. And so this is going to be something that's a constant massaging that occurs with the local program. As I've worked with my program instructors in track or wherever, on the individual conversation, this is one of those items that I tell them to build this right in as a topic agenda again within those advisory committee meetings, and share, it is a problem, for how do we address this? And the business leaders like to tackle problems. They like to be problem solvers, and it helps them get connected with the program area. And it makes them aware, the business people, aware of, the challenges of the instructor and working with these students. And they may have ideas, maybe not something that they can do with their particular organization, but they have some, other grander ideas of what other connections that they've got. And so it's something, again, that it's going to be dependent on the, the caliber or the level of students that you have. If your program, if you're getting kids done as a sophomore, that's very different versus a student that's finishing the program as a senior, and for what they can and can't do. So that's, I know I'm not giving you that black and white answer, if you will. I've left it all in the gray there, but if you have it, again, that it's on your advisory committee agenda and have it as a topic of discussion. I mean, this is a great piece that you could break down into small groups if you wanted to break your advisory committee into smaller groups for discussion to try to address this too, and come back with the, again, nobody's going to be spot on with this. It's going to change from year to year. So, this is a place where you tinker with things and see where you land. And some years you may be spot on, and other years it's like, whoops, this is education. We'll make it better next year. So hopefully that has given you some flexibility there. Candace?
Yeah, and I wrote in on the question too. I think that this is likely dependent on the CIP, and it would be a level of kind of a good faith effort to make improvements. We have, and I don't want to think of this year or last year because they're not normal, and who knows what next year will bring for us still. But when I think of my programs, like our education program, those students go out into work-based learning. And so if the majority of the programs are sending students out for a generous amount of work-based learning, and then I have one program where they say, well, we took a field trip, that's going to end up with an improvement plan. If, they look at culinary programs, though, culinary programs have a very, very rich lab-based learning. And they don't necessarily have the opportunity to get students out into work-based learning, especially right now with all of the issues we have with restaurants. So, naturally speaking, my culinary programs just aren't going to have the level of work-based learning that the education programs have. So it's going to vary by program. And what we're looking for more than anything is not someone who's looking for the minimum, not that minimum piece. We're looking for, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm hoping to do next year, kind of conversations with continuous improvement. And so that would be kind of the conversations that we would have. I don't see a lot of findings coming from, we work in the gray, Shannon. I don't know if I can publish your comment, but we live in the gray, and we work in the gray in our office. I think on our side of the office in particular. And so there's not a hard and fast answer to that on work-based learning, unfortunately. It's really dependent on the program. And that's something we will work with people on when we go to track. I can't see that becoming a finding for anyone, but I don't want to say that out loud. Somebody wrote in on our end, I can see more chat than anybody else can see, but they said, Tom, I see work-based learning as a differentiation opportunity for our students. And yes, that's how we see it. Even back when I was teaching, I would say I had some students that I was never going to let that particular student out of my sight. But then I had others who really went out for a very long time with very generous amounts of work-based learning. So that's, we recognize those situations and we'll work with anybody on them. Okay, we didn't have a lot of leadership questions. Oh, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in here real quick. And one of the things that I would recommend the teachers do is take these to the students, see what kind of problem solving that they come up with, because that they've got their own networks out there, and who knows what might be conjured up and the ideas that they come up with, and and they take ownership in their own programs and their own destination, and it fits, and it just there's more engagement has the opportunity for creating engagement in the program too. So back to you, Candace.
Okay, and so we've got two questions on CO7. The first one being the accessibility form. Is it okay? It must say that the CIP has to sign off, but the question is it okay if the CTE director or building principal signs it? And I'm just going to make that decision. Yes. I think it's more likely that the building principal would be aware of if a classroom meets ADA requirements. So that's essentially what that form's asking. So it needs an administrator certificate or an administrator to sign off on it. That could be the local CTE director. It could be the CPID. It could be the building principal. And maybe what we need to do, and I'll make a note of that, is on that form, we could ask for the person's title of who's signing off on it. I think would probably be more appropriate. And then if we have a district equal opportunity statement for CO7, does that mean you do not have to put photos of classroom displays or learning environment demonstrating equity? And so I think that that's looking at the second bullet point. Classroom environment, curriculum, materials are inclusive, free of bias, and non-discriminatory. Let me go back and pull that statement. So the accessibility assurance form is only looking at physical accessibility. It is not looking at, oh my gosh, my eyes. It is not looking at curriculum materials and bias. So no, you could, the CO7 program accessibility assurance form is only for that top criteria of looking at physical access. For the second row there, we would need to have the district equal opportunity compliance statement, and then photos of things that demonstrate equity within the classroom. So that could be the posters on the wall. That's usually one of the biggest things that we look at. Posters on the wall. My law and public safety programs, they do this really well. Everything that they have on their walls, nothing has a picture on it of a student. Everything is just law and public safety based, and they have flags and things like that hanging on the wall. So that would be an example of inclusive, free of bias, and being non-discriminatory. If you're going to hang posters with people in them, then you want to make sure that there's no bias or discrimination pieces, and that would be the types of pictures that we would be looking for. So you would still need pictures there.
Yeah. And to add to that, like on the curriculum pieces, if you're for resources, one of the things that I've told the teachers when this got implemented under Perkins 4, I said, you know what, just go to your publishers and ask them for a letter to say, and I, granted, my areas had a lot of things with textbooks, and I just said, get it from the publisher, put the onus on them to identify or that their materials are free of bias, and they said that becomes your piece that you can upload as evidence. The other piece too, so many of the instructors are using website for resources and things like that, and I tell them, just list the URLs under their list of resources, if you will, and on their websites, they're going to have those non-discriminatory statements as well. So back to you, Candace.
Okay, so now we've got 10 minutes left. So I want to make sure that we've got like just a handful of questions left. And some of these are for Jim. So Jim, is there a way to pull all PSNs in a report and see which teachers assigned and who is missing, so that we can see the whole?
Well, quick answer is yes. It would be a little bit of a complex report to put together. The question would be how to deliver it. Would we send periodic emails with attached reports, or would you want to have it, because all the CIP administrators have access to GEMS proper, they could then pull a report on demand, as it were, if they choose to get into GEMS proper and have it on their quick reports.
So maybe that's something we can bring to our meeting this afternoon, Jim.
Sure.
And see if there's a way that we can put out instructions for that.
Right. It'll take quite a bit to put together because of how the architecture for the CIP Self review interacts with the architecture of GEMS proper. But yeah, it's doable, and we could go ahead. We could do that and make it available, and link it probably in GEMS proper, or send out periodic emails.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm just going to start going through question by question. Will OCTE be reviewing all of our 20% submitted and then providing feedback to us in the event changes are needed or concerns arise? Tom, you want to handle that one? I don't know if Tom is. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
So you got my full answer while I was muted there.
Oh.
So I'm sorry. So in the reviews, we do not do a review of the 20% that you do. I mean, we don't have the time to be able to do that. But we do capture as to where you stand within the 20% reviews. And I mean, just it allows us to see, in a quick view as to who's touching their programs and who isn't, and the methods that you're using, if you will, whether you're doing it just in a general 20% or if you're adhering to, packaging all of your program areas together as you do reviews, things like that. And I will just stop at that point. That's enough.
And there are some consultants have thousands of programs. There are other consultants like myself. I do tend to go in and look at just about everything that has been submitted in there because I don't have as many programs. So I tend to look, and I don't necessarily email unless I see like a giant red flag. Hey, this something really big is missing, and I might send that back to someone. But when we do track, obviously, then we look at every single program to see where we'll be selecting our track visits in the region that's been selected. So next question there is, what if a teacher left during the second semester and you hired another teacher in their place? How does the new teacher receive their login credentials? And so.
And that would probably go to Jim then, because it's going to be, it's that MEIS, getting their MEIS credentials and then doing the request to be associated to the program.
Correct. It's the same process as the initial teacher we would have used for the initial teacher. So they would go in, they would make sure they can log into MEIS, and then they would go in with their MEIS login, log into the portal, select the program just as if the same way the new teacher did.
Yep, initial activation, yep.
Yeah. So then the next question, can you tell us why we need to submit 2 for the regular program and the EMC when the 5-year program of study is the only change? Can this be optional, please? We do have some guidance on that that's going to come out in a memo from our office on what needs to be in for an EMC when there is a regular program and a CTE EMC. Is the start date in GEMS actually when the teacher requests access? Jim, do you want to take that one and explain what the start date is?
The start date is when whoever clicks on it, that will create the start date. What that does is it creates an instance and that writes to the start date. So whether that's the building admin or the teacher, that's when it was first opened, that's the start date.
Okay, perfect. Will we give an updated template for agendas to prepare for the instructors and updated frequently asked questions? Our toolkits are updated in the summer months. So our goal is to have all of our toolkits updated by August 1st. However, they were just updated last summer for Perkins 5. So you can, if you're looking for program advisory, I would look at the program advisory toolkit. Also the teacher technical toolkit and see what's in there. We will simply be tweaking things this year. Last year was the big edit for Perkins 5. This year we'll just be cleaning things up in the toolkits that we know need to be fixed. So I think you're safe to take the template, the agenda template from the toolkit and use that. The next question is, Can we have a combination of face-to-face and virtual? Yeah, I think a combination of face-to-face and virtual, where some people do have to call into the meeting, I think, you know, it gives you a better reach, in particular with those post-secondary partners who are difficult to get to a meeting. They have really busy schedules. And I'm sure some of the business and industry partners are the same way. I know for myself, just personally speaking, I hope that schools continue to offer things like virtual parent-teacher conferences, virtual band booster meeting. I've actually been able to be active with my kids' school this year because I can attend a virtual meeting easier than I can attend a face-to-face. Then we have a question about, we have some programs that have been completely virtual all year. How can they show equity and access? They haven't been in their buildings. Yet they're not going to have pictures necessarily of equity and access from their buildings if they've been virtual all year, and we know that. CO3, who can represent special populations? Anybody who can speak to the special populations group that you would like to see represented at that meeting. For example, if you have a large percentage of English language learners, you should have someone that represents that population sitting at the table. If you have a large population of students with special needs, you know, you would want to take somebody who has experience. It could be a special ed teacher, it could be a counselor, it could be, you know, in some districts we have WIOA coordinators who work with our students who are in foster care. So you have a lot of flexibility there. If you have a large percentage of students who are military dependents, you can contact Military One Source and they will send out a special populations representative for that group. Can we go over the CIP self-review status page and what needs to be done for teachers to complete their CIP and the CTE administrator? Let's table that question because we kind of went over that at the beginning. Is there an update on when OCTE will notify who is being tracked? I believe that went out in a memo already. So let me see if I can get that, but essentially they'd like to see the fiscal year end. But that I'm almost positive that went out this week in a memo. Can we go back to program of study? How detailed would we like to see these? I have one student planning on EMC, 2-year, 4-year college apprenticeship, safety track. I would say your program of study, the secondary, post-secondary program of study for CO8 should probably represent the majority of your students. Would be the best way to put that. We are coming close to our closing time, although I've got some comments on here. Let's go here. For CO3, do we want pictures for facilities, equipment, materials, and resources? The CO3 requirement, if I go back to that document, we want photos for bias. We want photos of classroom lab looking at access, or on that one, you can do the signature page. Oh, I'm sorry, for CO3. No, I don't think we asked for pictures anywhere. Let me just double check that. No, we're looking for inventory lists. Now, I would say if you have somebody that can't make it to your meeting and they're going to call in or virtually dial in, you might want to have a way to try to show that person equipment, or at the very least explain the equipment to the point that they may understand it so that we have that industry connection to equipment. Okay, and then there's a couple questions about virtual with work-based learning and with virtual classes. Tom, can you talk to virtual? One of the questions actually is really specific, so hold on, let me read you that one. We'll be offering a few virtual classes next year. We plan on giving those students as much project-based, work-based learning and credentials as possible. This is not a third party. It will be the CTE teachers teaching. Can we include those students in our reporting next year in our GEMS?
And yeah, that's a good question. And we're looking to try to clarify that so you have some understanding. I know that when you do the reporting in CITES, there's a question, or I mean, what type of delivery is this? And there are 4 options there from you, and they come right out of the MSDS manual. And one of them is not virtual. And so if you, and this is what we're trying to get clarified so you guys have an understanding. When we talk to the pupil accounting people, under the old world of distance learning, which would have been, you have a teacher in one location and you have an interactive TV out to other locations, that those are being done in a synchronous manner. And the way the pupil accounting looks at that is if the delivery is being done in a synchronous manner, so that the teacher is sitting, like in the way we are right now, you're sitting here participating, you're the class out there right now, we're interacting back and forth. This is just like a classroom. And the way the pupil accounting would interpret that is that would be identified as distance learning, which would be what they would recommend, what they're recognizing as falling under non-virtual. And so that would really address, the question that came up here, but we have not published that. We're working on that clarification with both CIP, who oversees the MSDS manual, and with pupil accounting, Brian Solosky there. And so that will hopefully clean up the reporting piece, but that's a good question that, that we need to identify in some kind of a response that's in writing that you have for reporting purposes. So good question, but we haven't landed on that 100%, but it just kind of gives you a backdrop of the conversations that we have and working, trying to get that response out or getting an answer that we can all fall on and that we're consistent across the board with. Candace, you said there was another one, or I know we're at 12:04 here.
The other one is asking about virtual work-based learning. So I think you kind of answered it there too, that's something that's really working, that is a work in progress. Through our office, we have a committee that's working on those types of questions. So
yep.
We are over here by about 4 minutes. So did you want to finish a thought, Tom?
Yeah, I was just going to say that on that virtual work-based learning, again, have that as a topic of discussion within the advisory committee, because there may be some ideas there or ways that it works, and ways that they recommend that it won't work. Their recommendation might be. So have it as conversation. A lot of this information just take back to your advisory committee and get the business and industry partners what their perspective is on it. And that's back to you, Candace.
Okay, perfect. So, and I do want those of you to know, a lot of you threw comments into the question box, and so those are definitely. I feel like I've learned a lot from your perspective on things, from looking at some of the comments that are coming through and questions that are coming through on how we can make this process a little bit easier on our administrators and teachers. So there's some things that I will take back. So I am seeing your comments, even though we're not necessarily responding to the comments just for time purposes, but we've got a lot that we can take back to the drawing table. And just like we're asking for continuous program improvement on the administrative and teaching end, our goal within our office is continuous program improvement from OCTE end. So we will take a lot of what you've given us back to the drawing board and try to improve this process. And same with our CTE portal. We appreciate your patience this year as we rolled out a new program in the middle of a pandemic. And it's been a little wonky, but understand too that our office goal is not to catch anybody doing anything wrong and then coming after them through track. Our goal is simply to help people to have more successful programs. So definitely, if you have questions, along the way, reach out to us. Hopefully, knowing that there's a dedicated email for the CTE portal will help. And then, like I said, be on the lookout for some of those memos. There will be one coming for automotive. There will be one coming for family consumer science, and then there will be one for our EMC in terms of what we're looking for within the portal system. And then we will take some of your suggestions back to our GEMS team meeting and to our crew meetings that we have, our career readiness unit meetings, and we will try to implement some of the changes that have been suggested here, because there's been some very good suggestions that make perfect, reasonable sense. So we definitely want to make sure that we're helping and not hurting the process. So thank you, Jim Whitaker, and thanks, Tom Knight. And thank you to all of you on the call for hanging in with us. We started with 58 and we've got 40 still here. So we appreciate you. And we will have this video sent out as soon as we can to hopefully get it posted on the MDE YouTube channel very, very shortly. So thank you, and email us if you've got any concerns.